Jowza Jowza! Today we're really going Teutonic. Yes, we're going to explore the history of the Teutonic Order, their rise and their fall. We're gonna listen to me talk and talk and talk about history as usual, but we're gonna see some places that are of historic importance, not just for the Teutonic Order, but for this whole region here. Yeah. So join me, please. Let's have fun. It ain't over until the fat lady sings, and that's exactly what happened when the light cavalry of the Lithuanians charged in when everybody had counted them out. Hi, I'm Paul, a man who knows my way around, and you're watching the Teutonic Road Trip 2022, where I'm traveling from Ventspils in Latvia to Gdansk in northern Poland. The Teutonic Order was, along with Knights Templar, one of the most famous military societies from the medieval crusades of Palestine in the 12th century. Their symbol was a black cross on a white background, as opposed to the red cross of the Knights Templar. However, in 1226, the Teutonic Order were invited by the Pope to join the Baltic Crusades to Christianize the pagan tribes in the Baltics. They were given land around the towns of Kulm and Torun, called Kulmeland, in today's Poland. From here they were tasked to Christianize the Baltic Prussian tribes. This was done swiftly, and by the end of the 13th century, the Teutonic Order controlled most of today's northeast Poland and Kaliningrad region. With the inclusion of the Livonian Order in 1237, the state of the Teutonic Order also included large parts of Latvia and Estonia, and in 1308 it made Marienburg its capital. In the 14th century, the Teutonic Order's aggressive politics and territorial claims well beyond the Baltic Crusade made it clear that the order was not only serving God, it was building an empire of the monastic state of the Teutonic Order. By the beginning of the 15th century, the Teutonic Order had seized territories from Lithuania, Poland, Brandenburg and Sweden, and their aggression was becoming a serious threat to neighboring countries Lithuania and Poland. Something had to be done. Yeah, 1226. The Duke of Masovia in Poland, he was having a problem with the Prussians, the real Prussians, you know, the Baltic tribe that was living up here where we are right now. He was wanting to expand more north, but the Prussians were pushing back, so there were skirmishes and battles, smaller battles between the Masovians and the Prussians. So he asked the Teutonic Order, why don't you come and help me here in Prussia? And that's what they did. They moved in. They started fighting against the Prussians. As they do, they basically killed everybody. I mean, it was horrible. It wasn't like they were just giving the land over to the king or the Duke of Masovia. No, they just kept it for themselves, didn't they? So the Teutonic Order got invited to the party, took over the party, and then refused to leave. Anyway, so yeah, that was what they did, and they kind of started focusing on building a state. You know, like this is ours. They made sure that they got taxes. You know, that's one of those things that you live from when you have taken a country. You live from taxes. Anyway, yeah. Oh, Grunwald. So at this point in time, I think the Teutonic Order was really at their prime. They were doing really well, but there was one big problem for them, and that was the Lithuanians. And the Lithuanians fought back, and for the whole 1300s, there were battles going back and forth in Samogitia. The border was moved back and forth and back and forth. At the same time, the Teutonic Order felt that we should be expanding south as well. So they started pushing towards Poland, pushing towards the west, so Pomerania, Pomerelia, and yeah, so they were kind of pushing their boundaries and stepping on the toes of the Poles as well. In 1309, they moved their their headquarters to Marienburg, or Marlborg as it's called today. And that was kind of a big signal that they were seeing this region as their home now. And the Poles were getting threatened by the Teutonic Order. So they joined forces from Poland and Lithuania. The Lithuanians and the Poles, together with Tatars, they all joined forces and came towards this region as one army, one big army. Yeah, it was one of those feats of organization, because they didn't speak each other's language. They had very little things in common, actually. Probably didn't train to fight together at all. But they managed to meet up, sync up in one place, and then cross one of the rivers here, and then move up towards this place where we're going right now, as one big army. And now we're coming up to Grunwald, as you can see here. That's where they finally bumped into each other. That's where they finally decided to meet and fight it out once and for all. The Lithuanian and the Polish troops were larger. They had more men, but they were not trained together. They were not. They didn't even speak each other's languages very well, or at all. So they were a larger group, but less organized, you could say. And then you had the Teutonic Order, which were less people, but better trained. They were very disciplined. They had experience, battle experience. So they knew what they were doing. So they didn't really worry them that they were outnumbered to some extent by the Lithuanians and the Poles. So on the 15th of July in 1410, the two armies met here. Yeah, so we're actually walking up now to the monument of the Battle of Grunwald, or Battle of Tannenberg. And the monument is kind of on the top of a little hill here. So we're approaching the battle monument from the northwest side. Standing on that side, looking southeast here now. And then Tannenberg is Uberdal, and that's where the Teutonic Order guys would have been waiting. So what you see here is how the troops were set up before the battle. On this side here we have the Polish and the Lithuanian forces. Furthest on the right were the light Lithuanian cavalry. Then it was the Tatars. Then we had some Lithuanian forces and Polish forces in the middle. And then the heavy Polish cavalry on the left flank. And on the other side we had the Teutonic Order. They were fewer, and I think you can see that those grey slabs, there are fewer than the brown slabs, I guess. Anyway, it was the light Lithuanian cavalry that started the fight here on the right side. They pushed on, they fought for about an hour, and then they pissed off. They retreated and just vamoosed. They just disappeared. And that of course collapsed the right side of the Lithuanian and Polish armies, and gave the initiatives to the Teutonic Order. And they started pushing in, and they really focused in on the center, and pushing and pushing and pushing. They almost got to the Lithuanian Grand Duke, but he was saved in the last minute by an aid. It was going all wrong for the Poles and the Lithuanians that were left, but and the Teutonic Order felt very secure about the battle victory. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, from behind, comes the Lithuanian light cavalry, charging in, hitting the Teutonic Order in the back. And suddenly the Teutonic Order knights had to fight a two-front battle. It's been debated if this was part of the battle plan already from the start, or if they lost their courage and then regained it and came back. Nobody really knows. But that kind of changed the way this battle was going, and the Teutonic Order were just losing man after man, crumbling down from being attacked from both sides, and in the end they had to desert the battlefield. Whatever what was left of them, they were killed in thousands. And in all, of course, this was a bloodbath. So many people, thousands and thousands of people on both sides died in this battle. Those knights of the Teutonic Order that managed to get away fled quickly to their capital, Marlborg, not so far away from here, and ducked into their castle there, the Marlborg Castle, or the Marlborg Castle. They were put under siege by the Poles and the Lithuanians after the battle, but the castle was well defended. So even though they were decimated severely from the loss here, they managed to hold on to their fort, and in the end the Lithuanians and the Poles gave up and said, okay, enough of this, we won, see ya. Yes, so although this was not the end of the Teutonic Order by any means, it was the beginning of the end. I think now we're going to head over to Marlborg, or Marlborg as it was called in those days, and just have a look at the Marlborg Castle, the Teutonic Order's headquarters in those days. And then I think we can call it off with the Teutonic Order for this trip. Yeah, the Marlborg Castle, the capital of the Teutonic Order. This is where they held out even after the loss of the battle at Grunwald in 1410, on the 15th of July. Yeah, it didn't go so well for the Teutonic Order after the loss at Grunwald. Already in 1455 they had to sell the castle here. They had to pay off mercenaries who worked for them, and they were down on their luck, so to speak, so they had to sell the Marlborg Castle, and they moved their capital to Königsberg or Kaliningrad instead. Yeah, they were in decline. They were losing territory here and there. I mean, Latvia went off to Lithuania, so it was going downhill for them. So in 1525 the leadership of the Teutonic Order decides to go over to Protestantism. They convert. Of course, that's not very popular with the Pope, and that's where there's a break from the political part of Prussia and of the Teutonic Order. This area was known as the Duchy of Prussia. Later it became the Kingdom of Prussia. It was elevated. That was in the beginning of the 1700s, 1701. And then in the 1871, then the Kingdom of Prussia is eaten up by the new Germany that is being created. Yeah, so that was the Teutonic Order, their rise and their fall. That's how it happens. So, but maybe not such a pleasant bunch, honestly. Maybe the world is a better place without them. I don't know. So if you like this episode, why don't you press the like button and subscribe to this channel. I have loads of more stories to tell you about this part of the world and everywhere else. See ya.